Hello, everyone. Welcome and welcome back to episode 19 of Dicks and Politics. You've got me, Samantha.
Me, Addriana.
And me, Aurora.
Yay! Addriana, welcome back.
Hey!
I feel like you haven't been on the show in... seriously, how many weeks has it been?
A long time. I haven't been on season 2 for... I think I was only in for one episode. So far.
Where have you been?
Vegas, traveling, doing things on the back end for WYSP.
Yeah, no, you've
just
been around.
Stuff.
You've been around.
I'm here, but I'm not here.
It's fine. Well,
Yeah.
we're tickled to have you back, and Aurora, I'm thrilled that you can join us again. I don't know why I keep Aurora's a regular host. I shouldn't be it's not a novice, but it's a novice to me that you're here. I'm just a novice. Is that the right word? No, it's a treat. It's a treat.
Why, thank you for making this long distance thing work.
Of course. Well, we're thrilled to do it. And, you and Steven, again, it's just having two people over in the UK. I sort of was like, oh, geez, how's this going to work? But actually, it works out quite nicely. So first, we're going to start off in the UK. We've got Aurora with us, who's going to be talking about Brexit and everything that happened this past week, or maybe some would say what didn't happen this past week. Are we leaving in May? Are we leaving in April? What is the answer? Time will tell. And by time, we mean the negotiations that take place next week. Then we're going to get into hashtag and talk about all of this college nonsense where these extremely wealthy parents, some of which are celebrities, are basically paying for their kids to get into top universities and on sports teams. So this begs the question, should we hold children responsible for the decisions and actions of their parents, whether they knew or didn't know? And then, of course, does it really matter whether or not you have a college degree? Well, some would say if you want to be a brain surgeon, it definitely does matter. Then rounding out the end of this episode, we've got the guys from Game Over. We're welcoming back the OGs, Ian and Steven, and we're going to be talking about the different types of consoles. We're going to do it in a different way. A little Price is Right. Of course, Ian is going to be assuming the role of Vanna White, and we're going to talk to you about what the different consoles are now, what they cost, how much games cost, because I think we're at a point where we kind of have people interested to maybe dip their toes into gaming. But before we get into that, join us for our political segment, What's Burning?
All right, guys. So let's kick off What's Burning. We have a lot to talk about regarding Brexit. Our little update, our brupdate, if you will. So this has been a really big week. Theresa May went to the EU in Brussels. There was a summit and she asked for an extension. They decided to extend it until the 22nd of May, as long as she gets her deal approved next week. So that means that every member of parliament needs to vote yes, or not everyone, but the majority needs to vote yes to get her deal passed. If not, if she does not get that majority, they will need to leave on the 12th of April with or without a deal.
Ugh.
Now, obviously, this puts us in a bit of a pickle, as we have been in a pickle for the past 3 years. But as Brits do, they'll get a cup of tea and make a good thing of it. So,
but you still don't know what's going to happen with all of your cheese.
No. Oh, my God, Sam, the cheese. How are we going to get the camembert? Who knows? But this lovely lady, I think she's about 70, she did a petition online to get a new referendum. So it was a people's vote like they did it back in 2016. And the minimum is 100,000 signatures for it to go to Parliament in order for them to even debate it. And they've got more than 4 million signatures, which is incredible. And it keeps going up and up and up. And today there was also a march in London, a march on Parliament to do the same thing. So they're trying to push forward for another EU referendum. And there are about 1 million people there. So this is really something that they want. And I've kind of been thinking a lot about this, and I personally believe they've gone about this a completely wrong way. They should have done the deal, they should have organized everything, and then put it to a vote, because voting for something without knowing what it is that you're voting for makes absolutely no sense. So they should have organized everything, campaigned telling people what Brexit would consist of, and then done the vote. But obviously that's not what has happened. So I mean, hindsight's 2020.
Yeah.
So,
Well, that does
yeah.
seem very backwards.
Yeah.
Exactly. It is so backwards. But I kind of just feel bad for the EU, because at this point, looking at it, it feels like the UK is just being like this big drama queen, like, look at us, look at us. But there's another, 27 states and countries in the EU that need to be getting along with their own business and their own lives. And they put the deadline on the 22nd of May just because it needs to be before the EU Parliament elections, which will take place between the 23rd and the 26th of May. So that is a really, really, really tight deadline.
Yeah, you
That's
think?
super close.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
I know.
Well, okay. Well, last week I asked you how you were feeling about all of this, and you came back and you were like, I guess I'm just feeling a little bit anxious because I just sort of like to know what's happening. Worst case scenario for you, it's not like you're going to be instantly thrown out of your home and have everything stripped of you and you're going to have to go back to wherever from whence you came.
Yeah.
But, I mean, it's sort of, it's like going to a restaurant and they like put the food in front of you and you're like, I'm allergic to everything on this plate, but thanks. I guess I have to eat it now.
Yeah.
It seems very backwards to me. So what is the mood now? What are the headlines saying?
I think the mood now is getting increasingly more sort of nervous, and people are just, they really, really, really want an answer now, because it's going to impact everyone's lifestyle and everyone's quality of life. I mean, people who live in the UK who have moved here from other countries in Europe, and I can speak from experience, have come here because there are better job opportunities. There is a higher life quality, and also the pound is so strong. But up until now it has been, and now we're just seeing the pound plummet. There probably won't be as many job opportunities. There is a high chance that after Brexit happens, there will be a recession and people will start moving their companies outside of London and outside of the UK. So it will impact people so much more than what they thought it would. And I think not being able to get our cheese, Sam, will definitely be low on the priorities.
Well, I have a question for you. So
Sure.
there's an app or a company here in the US called TaskRabbit. Do you guys have
Okay.
that over in the UK?
So is that kind of for like freelance work?
Yeah. It's
Yeah.
sort of like
So
Upwork.
it's not like Upwork.
No, it's sort of like Upwork, but it's I think it's on a much smaller scale. Like Upwork is really specifically for like corporate level needs, whereas
Yeah.
TaskRabbit can go all the way down to like I'm sick in bed and I just need someone to go to the grocery store. So do
I'm
you
actually sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off.
No,
I'm
no,
actually
no.
not too sure if they do have anything like that. I mean, there's something called Gumtree, but I think I would more equate that to like Craigslist.
Yeah.
Which is, I mean, you guys know what Craigslist is.
Oh, trust me. Adriana and I met on
there.
Craigslist.
Really? Oh my God.
You have a job at WYSP is because Adriana advertised her cat on Craigslist because she needed it to have a new home, and I was like, I have a home.
Oh my God, you
By
guys,
the
we
way,
have come full circle.
We are not sponsored by Craigslist, but we would love to
Yes.
be sponsored by Craigslist.
Craigslist.
It's
Call
clearly a
us.
success story.
Well, so the reason I ask is because I was having a conversation with a girlfriend of mine the other day, and the past 2 years have been very rough for me. I've lost a few jobs, and I work at a high level in corporate, and so my girlfriend was saying to me that we're sort of on the brink of something called a gig economy. Where rather than having one job through and through, people are going to have a lot of little jobs. Is that conversation taking place over in the UK as well?
Not to my knowledge. I haven't had that conversation with sort of any of my friends yet. I mean, a friend of mine who I went to university with was just made redundant at her job. And whether that is due to Brexit and the company just not having enough money, or other things, I'm not sure. But there definitely is a climate of change happening. A lot of people are finding that if they work for a big firm or a big company, their HQ is going to be moved outside of the UK. So
Yes.
I'm not sure whether there is that option right now, so to have something similar to TaskRabbit, but it's definitely something that will probably be more needed in the future.
Yeah, absolutely. And how does that make you feel, Adriana, as someone you always have like 3 jobs? You always have like 2 companies of your own, and then you work for a big company. And that's been your lifestyle for quite a few years now. Do you like it? How does it make you feel? Talk to us about that.
I like it because I feel like I'm making more money having all these different places to get money from.
Well,
I feel like there's pros and cons to both, though, because when I have one good job, I don't have to worry about everything else, and it's less stressful. And I know my schedule is not going to be crazy. It's going to just be like the same thing every week. I'll know what to expect. But when I have different jobs, it's like, okay, how many hours am I working this week? Am I available Wednesday? I don't know. Which job am I going to go to? So, I mean, there's pros and cons to both of them.
Yeah, but I mean, look at what happened to me in 2018. I had one job and one job alone, and then I lost it. And then I had another, standalone job, and I lost that. And it was out of that WYSP came along. So, I think it's good. I can see both sides. Having one consistent job and working for a large company, you get health insurance, which is great because you need to be able to take care of yourself. But if everything falls apart, which it tends to do, then you don't really have a backup.
I mean, the main reason why I have so many jobs at once is because I'm very experienced in what I do, and big companies have told me we don't have enough money to pay you for what you do. So that's the main reason why.
She is very in demand. We're very lucky to have her. I mean, if you guys, for all the listeners out there, if you ever look at, the weekly photos that we put out to promote every episode, if you've ever looked at our website, you can go to www.whateveryousayproductions.com, all spelled out. That's all Addriana. I literally had nothing to do with any of that. That is all her.
Woo!
So,
Yeah.
Aurora, what do you think? I mean, as someone who works for a nonprofit, and the work that you do is really important, do you think that Brexit and how it's changing the job market is going to have an effect on you?
I think so, maybe. I mean, it's really difficult to tell because obviously I work for a volunteering company and we mainly recruit volunteers to join us outside of the UK, so we operate abroad. So I'm not sure whether it would affect us as much just because we don't have that big of sort of a workforce or a working body in the UK. But it will definitely affect sort of how we relate to our volunteers and how we work with them, and also how we send money abroad to support the people that we work with. Yeah, it is so much up in the air that it's really hard to tell how it will affect my company in a way. But yeah, I think it's definitely going to slowly but surely seep into kind of every industry, and everyone that has either a 9 to 5 or works a lot of jobs, they will really be affected by it. But yeah, I think I find myself personally quite kind of quotation marks lucky to be able to work a 9 to 5 just because I do really enjoy having my evenings off and my weekends. But obviously I do appreciate that it can be difficult to either find those opportunities or even be able to sustain yourself if you do have a 9 to 5. Sometimes you're just not paid enough, so you need to find other opportunities. And whether that will still be possible in the UK once Brexit hits, I'm not sure whether that is going to be.
Yeah, no, we can completely relate. All right, well, let's get into our next segment, which is called hashtag, and let's talk about all of this nonsense that's been going on with the college admissions and parents just paying their kids' ways right into school. So join us for hashtag. Well, it's been a couple weeks now since the news broke that very well-known celebrities in Hollywood, as well as some other very wealthy people, basically paid schools and coaches and professors and admission staff and everyone that they could to either get their kids into a college or get them onto an athletic team. Now, Abby and I had a whole debate about this. I mean, we were on the same page, which was good. And she does all of our PR and digital. But Addriana, as someone who grew up and had absolutely nothing handed to you ever, you have worked for every little thing that you have, wear, and eat.
Mm-hmm.
How did this make you feel?
I was pissed because there's kids out there who work their butts off from the beginning to even just get like a 90 percentile to get them somewhere. Universities overlook them because of these people that are paying, and then they're filling the spots for those kids that could be there. So yeah, I was pissed.
Aurora, does bullshit like this happen in the UK, or is this just an American thing?
I just think celebrities in the US have sort of a higher profile. So if it does happen in the US, it's going to be kind of distributed more within the media. But I wouldn't doubt that this stuff happens in the UK too. I mean, whether it's sort of a celebrity that's on TV or a politician or just someone that owns businesses and it does have a lot of money, I probably wouldn't put it past people to do this. But like Addriana was saying, I just find it so sad for kids who have really worked so hard and probably have had sort of their parents on their back as well, really strictly trying to get them to get those grades. And then because someone has put the money, maybe they got the last spot and this kid that worked so hard didn't get it. I just find it really unfair.
Yeah, I do too. And so Lori Laughlin's daughter, whose name is like Olivia Jade or whatever, she was at USC, and she got her partnership with Sephora taken away from her, and so all right, let's dive into this. Obviously we all feel the same way. Should we hold the kids responsible for the mistakes that their parents made?
No, I don't think so.
But should the children suffer the consequences of the decisions their parents made?
It depends if they knew or if they really did it.
Yeah.
So I think that we should also take a look at their grades.
Yeah.
Like, you know what? Let's take a look at the damn grades. If they are just sort of cruising by and they're barely passing, as well as, we now know they got their way, paid in or whatever, then I say goodbye. But if they really are putting in the time and putting in the work with their grades, and maybe not even necessarily just their grades, but let's look at their athletic track record as well. If they are really watching, I don't like to say watching what they eat, but if they're eating healthfully and they're working out and they're a real part of a team and they make that team stronger and they're also able to keep up their grades, then I say, take another look at it. Maybe they don't belong at that particular school because their way was paid in, but I would say to other universities, as long as you can foolproof it and make sure that it's fair, let them in. Because not all, and I never thought I'd say this, not all kids that come from well-off families are jerks. I'm not a jerk. I'm not. I went to community college. I had every opportunity to go to any school I wanted to, and I decided that I wanted to start working at 18, and I wanted to work full-time and go to school full-time, and that's what I wanted. Now here I am, and I don't take things for granted, and I'm basically not, I might be a little rough around the edges, but I'm not an asshole. So it's sort of like what Paige said last week, when we were talking about the horrific attacks that took place in New Zealand, and he was making the comments about, his motive being because Donald Trump is a symbol of renewed white purpose. And Paige was like, don't lump me in with that, because I don't even know what white purpose is. And like, first of all, second of all, like, please don't associate me. I sort of feel the same way. But I don't know. I mean, Aurora, what do you think? If you found out that someone, say that you're older and you have kids and whatever, say you found out that a friend did this, like, how would you handle it with your friend?
I think similarly to what you were saying, Sam, I think it would need to be a case of seeing what the grades were like before getting into college. And also, if this has happened, I think it would be helpful So the university or college will always know if someone has bought their way in. They don't need to divulge this, but if this has happened, just add another seat that's open to people who actually have worked for it, you know?
Mm-hmm.
Don't try to diminish the amount of seats available to all these kids that can afford to buy their way in. But I think if it was my friend, I'd kind of ask them how involved they were and how, like, what their options were at the time, because if they desperately really wanted to go to this one school for this one specific course and it was the only place that did the course and they had this passion for it, dude, you do it. But if it was just kind of like, I like the name, then I'd kind of need a bit more of a reasoning behind it.
Yeah.
You know what I wonder? Did she take the SATs, or not her, do kids who get paid to go into these schools, like to get into these schools, do they take the SATs or do they not?
I think they do, but I think they pay someone to take it for them or something like that.
So if the kids don't know that their parents are doing this, do they not question, like, why am I not taking the test?
No, good point.
Yeah.
Man, I don't know. It's a messed up
because
world out
she's
there.
a YouTuber. She's a huge influencer, and she's on YouTube right now talking about how her mom ruined her life because she's losing all of her partnerships. I also wonder how much time she had for school because she's traveling all over the world all the time.
But when the news broke, she was on the yacht, on the private yacht of like the president of the board or something, some sort of a title like that for USC. I mean, I don't know, man. I don't know. But here's my next question though, which I don't think I would have asked you 20 years ago, but I will ask you now. Addriana, does a college degree matter in terms of finding a job and having a career?
Yes and no. I'm going to say no from experience. I've tried out for high-level positions, executive positions, manager positions, and there were some jobs how on the description it asked me to bring in a diploma, right, or a degree. And then I'd have the interview, they wouldn't ask for it at the interview. But then there were places that did. So yes and no for me, but then again, I'm not trying to be a doctor or a lawyer, so I'm pretty sure for those kinds of jobs, of course.
Yeah. Aurora, what do you think?
Yeah, I think the same. I think it depends on the industry you're going to go into. I know people who finished high school and went straight into work, and they were kind of at the same point in their career as someone who was finishing college kind of 3-4 years later. But I think it definitely depends on the industry. So if you want to go into something a bit more corporate led, definitely kind of see how work experience can help you out too. I mean, I did a psychology degree and now I'm working in marketing. So it really does kind of help. Yeah, exactly. If it kind of really depends on what it is that you want to do.
You also
if you want to be
like,
a doctor, yeah, exactly. Definitely study if you're going to be a surgeon, because no one's going to want to go under the knife with you.
Well, jobs are looking more for experience too. So if you can do something that's self-taught and say, hey, I've been actually doing this for 10 years, they're going to be like, show me what you got then.
Yeah,
exactly. So I think if you always have as well that kind of can-do attitude, and it's like, I've studied this, but I'm actually really interested in this other thing, and I've been working in it for like 3 years, they'll definitely take that into account. But I think a degree is important, or a bachelor's or a master's, whatever is necessary, depending on what you want to do.
Yeah, I completely agree. I think when it comes to things like working as a lawyer, a doctor, maybe working in science, architecture, what else? Even education. I do think, I think you definitely need a degree if you're going to be like a psychiatrist. You can't be like, I just love people. Like, no, you need a degree, but thank you. But other things, like I've built a career in sales, and no one has ever asked me, Sam, where did you go to school? Did you graduate? What did you study? All they care about is the fact that I know how to talk. I know how to educate myself on a product, and then I can sell the shit out of it, which is,
and a lot of that comes from your experience.
Girl, yes, that's what I do. But it also, I mean, working in sales, you have to have a certain type of personality. Your brain has to work a certain way. You can't be trained in sales. You're either born with it or you're not.
You don't need a business degree for sales.
Oh, right? No. You need to be able to think critically. You need to be organized, and you need to know how to just turn it on. And who
Yeah.
turns it on better than I do? So basically the conclusion is this: if you're going to cut into my brain or cut into my heart or sit across from me on a plush couch and tell me what my thoughts, feelings, and emotions mean, then yes, you do need a college degree. But hey, if you're going into sales, in some cases marketing, business development, it may just be all about personality. But all right, guys, let's lift the mood a little bit. Let's welcome back to the show Ian and Steven. They are ready to play The Price is Right. They sound lovely. Join us for this segment of Game Over. Oh boy, the boys, they're back in town. I am here joined by the OG guys from the very first segment of Game Over, before we even announced that it was going to become its own show. So please join me in welcoming, all the way from Hoboken, New Jersey, Ian, and of course, all the way from London, Steven. Yay!
Woo!
Welcome back, you two. How are you doing? Ian, I'll start with you. I think you're a little rough around the edges today, right, bud?
I've been better, but
Yeah.
now that it's close to 6:15 our time, I'm feeling my life slowly getting back to normal. But yeah, long weekend for good old Kirk's bachelor party, but it was fun. But glad I'm back home now.
I'm glad you're back home too. And I'm, Ian, I'll be surprised. I'm a little surprised you came home in one piece, but I appreciate that you didn't go. I mean, did you go snowboarding at all? Or were you like, nah, man, I'll sit this one out. Just stay in and game. What did you do? You drank a lot of beer. I know that.
I'm gonna go with no comment and move on to the next question.
And
What's
Steven, how are
happens
you
in the
doing?
bachelor
How's your
party
wife?
stays.
Yeah.
Fine.
My wife is great. Yes, for those of you who don't know, we are pregnant and expecting our first baby, which is absolutely fun. That's got me full of energy. Yes, I'm
When is she
absolutely.
due, Steve?
She's due in June,
Oh my
same month
goodness.
as my birthday, so I'll have a double birthday month, which will be interesting.
Well, maybe you'll share your birthday with your daughter. You never know. That could be so cute.
Oh, that would be so expensive.
Yeah.
But very cute. Well, Ian, I think we need to clear the air a little bit because there's a little bit of beef going on between the two of us on Instagram. For those of you who didn't see it, people were like, "Are you guys fighting?" I'm like, no, it's good. Ian's just getting mouthy again. So I basically posted a beautiful picture of myself, and all I said was, "Women don't need filters." And Ian, what did you decide to do as a result?
I wanted to show everybody that we also don't need filters here at Game Over. So I wanted to see what I looked like, what Kirk looked like, and unfortunately I wasn't able to get one of Steve, but I wanted to show us in our unfiltered, most natural
And
state.
So, Ian, what do you look like unfiltered?
It's on Instagram. Check it out. You tell me.
Ooh, a
Yeah.
teaser. It's fine though. I think I got you back. So yeah. Anyways, well, I am really thrilled to sit down with the both of you because we have somehow managed to get people to really like you guys. I don't know how we did it. No, I'm just kidding. You guys are lovely. And I think people just needed to kind of give you a chance, give gaming a chance. And now that we've got some of our listeners really hooked on getting into this entire world of gaming and esports, I want to take it back. And today we're going to be talking about consoles. I want to know, what are the leading consoles that are out now? And how much do they cost? And then, of course, I'm going to ask you what your favorite is. So let's set this up sort of like a commercial. All right. So, Steven, I'm going to have you shout out the name of the console and whom it's made by. And then, Ian, I want you to swoop right in with the market value, with the price. Are you ready to play? What's the name of that show? Is it Name the Price? No, The Price is Right. Name the Price.
The
Are you
price
ready
correct.
to play The Price is Right, Game Over edition? Steven, let's start it off with you. And in Steven's hands, he is holding a beautiful...
Xbox
Yes.
360, made by Microsoft.
My goodness. And how much does this apparatus cost, Ian?
Oh, well, excuse me. He went with the Xbox 360, the older generation. Let
Oh
me
my
pull up
goodness,
that one. You can get the Xbox 360 for $80, basically used now. The Xbox One is going to run you around like $250.
All
US.
right. And behind curtain number 2, Steven on his head is balancing a illustrious...
PlayStation 4, the ultimate rival of the Xbox.
Absolutely.
And Ian, how much?
Vanna Ian, And
Vanna
that will,
Ian, how
and
much
that
is a
will,
PS4?
PS4 will run you a cool like 270 about. That's what she's
Okay.
gonna get for a brand new PlayStation 4.
All right, and underneath this table, Steven is now cradling a.
It's the ugly cousin of all the other consoles. It's the Wii.
And Vanna Ian, how much is a Wii going to run the buyer nowadays?
That ugly little bitch is gonna run you $35 on eBay. I'm
You-
looking at it right now.
Oh
Yeah,
my
that's. I just gonna say there's not much of a demand for the Nintendo Wii, but for $35 you can get one.
Okay. And finally, the pièce de résistance, the newest bad bitch on the block. Steven on his back, he is displaying a beautiful
Nintendo Switch.
made
So,
by.
Nintendo.
I believe you addressed that in the first thing you said. Yeah.
And Ian, how much is a Nintendo Switch? Actually, I can tell you guys how much it is. It's $250, give or take. Now, all right.
I'm seeing $299 here, so I don't know what you're looking at. Which
I was over at Best Buy in Lincoln Square, and
Shout
it was
out.
$250. Shout
Oh,
out Best Buy in Lincoln Square. All right, so you guys, so we've got the PS4 for PS4 for 270. We've got an Xbox One for 250. We've got a Wii for $30, and we've got a Switch for somewhere between 250 if you're a pretty young woman like myself, and a 299 if you're Ian. So, all right, now, if you had to make a choice, right? If you had to choose one that was going to be your favorite, Ian, what's your favorite out of all these?
PlayStation 4.
Why?
Started with PlayStation, and it's the system that I currently play with right now.
Why?
Why?
Yes.
It's the one that my friends have. That's basically the main reason why I still stick with it. So
Aw.
I have a group of friends that still play PlayStation, and whenever playing something online, I play with those guys.
So,
And that's
Ian, if I were to plop you in front of an Xbox One, would you know how to play on an Xbox? Or okay, all right. So,
I personally think the controllers are sort of the same.
okay,
Pretty
Depending
much,
upon
yeah.
got it. And Steven, if you had to pick a console of your choice with 5 seconds on the clock, what would you choose?
Do you know what? It's going to be the Nintendo Switch purely because of the utility element, the fact you can take it with you. Other than that, it's not got much going for it, to be honest with you. If I had to pick, like, based on what's got the most going for it, it's going to be a PlayStation 4. Yeah.
Okay. All right. Fine. So let's talk now. When you go out and you buy these things, we now know how much they cost. I have sort of a silly question. When you go out and buy a console, do you also get the controller with it?
You do. You get one single controller.
Why
And so we
is it
say in the
just the
business
one?
world, it's called an upsell, I believe. Samantha, aren't you the sales one? That's what they want you to do. So, yep, you get the console, you get one controller, but you want to play with your buddies.
All right. And how much does a controller cost?
A controller's going to cost you $45-$50
Okay.
additional.
I mean, when you're already like there at the store, or when you're already like, on Target.com, I guess it's not that much, but still that's crazy. So if your friend has an Xbox and you have an Xbox and you want to play with him, and you want to do it in person, can you just bring your controller from your house over to your friend's house and it'll hook up to theirs?
Yep, you just bring it over. There's usually a little button you press. You just sync it up to the system, and then in a couple seconds, you're ready to rock. Everything's wireless. But
Nice.
as I mentioned before, you always need those AA batteries.
Yes, we do need the AA batteries. So, okay, Steven, how much do games cost nowadays? Are they more expensive on one console versus the next, or are they all about the same the price? The price. Are they all about the same price?
Yes, is the short answer. They basically, if it's a new title, you're gonna pay the same amount no matter what console it's for, no matter what platform you're buying it from. The price is basically uniform. It's going to be somewhere between 50 and 60 pounds in the UK, or $60 to $80 in the US.
Jeez, that's a lot of money.
Yep. So yeah, even to go up, like if you're buying the new Madden or the new FIFA games coming out, and or the new Call of Duties, the major franchises, yeah, those are the ones that are going to run you $80 every time.
Wow. Jeez. All right. So, are people still going to stores? Like, are they still running to GameStop and Target and Walmart and I don't know, Tesco? I don't know what you have in the UK. Or is there what's
What's Tesco's? What do you say? The Wiz next? But I'm sorry if that's a UK based company. Maybe I just don't know.
But okay,
Tesco's exist, yes.
is Tesco like? Wait,
It's
is
a
it Tesco?
supermarket. They do food.
Whatever.
Okay. So, all right. I don't think that makes sense there.
The
You can get
only
some
show
bananas.
that I've
Can't get any
watched
games.
from the UK is Downton Abbey, and they don't have a Tesco in Downton Abbey because it's back in the 1920s. And what do I know? Nothing. But my question is this: are people still running to the store, or is there another way that people are getting these games?
I'm going to say no. I think the brick and mortar stores, especially the GameStop's kind of a dying breed, and it's so much more convenient to just stream it or download it from your console or from your PC
How
right
the
from your
hell are
home.
people down, Steven? How are people downloading games?
So each of the different consoles has their own digital store that you can buy all the titles from. They're uploaded to. If you're on PC, there's this like mega supermarket called Steam, which is phenomenal. You just go on there, you use PayPal, you use your credit card or your mum's credit card if you stole it from her purse, and you just I don't advise that, but some people do. And then you go on there and you just you get the games, download them using your Wi-Fi or your internet, and then you're ready to go.
So, Steven, is Steam kind of like what it's like when we watch Wreck-It Ralph, where they go into the internet and it's just like, and everyone is there? Is that sort of what it's like?
It's basically like that, yes. It's like a massive candy shop, but for gamers.
Nice.
So you go into there. It doesn't matter what kind of game you like, you will find something. Whether it's
That's awesome,
FPS
though.
games, RPGs, exactly. It's all just there in one place, with the exception of Metro Exodus, because they're traitors. But other than that,
Oh, okay.
everything's fine. and
Now, is
everything's
everything
there.
the same price? Like, if I go to GameStop versus going to Steam, are the games going to cost the same?
Yes.
Mhm.
They will cost the same.
Okay. So if they're the same price, whether you download it or go into a store, I find that really interesting that the game manufacturers don't think to make their pricing competitive and sort of incentivize and say, oh, well, if you buy it online, you can save. I mean, even $5. But is there a reason, Stephen, why they don't do that?
Absolutely. Most of the prices and the actual dates that things are released are all controlled from the very top of a company. The only time that doesn't happen is when you're talking about sales, in which companies like Steam do take control. But most part, the actual companies themselves, they're taking the control over the prices, the date that things come out, ensuring that it's met, their own standards, what they want to happen.
Got it. Okay. So in a perfect in a world, in a perfect world, Ian, I'll ask you first. If you could take some elements of all these different consoles and mush them together into one like super product, super console, would you do that? And if so, how and what would you take?
Well, I'm going to break the mold. Is I would take my PlayStation 4, strictly just the controller, but I would hook it up to a PC and ditch the consoles.
Why is
That's what I
that?
would do. I'm sure Steve will be able to speak upon it more. It's just the power behind a PC compared to the power behind a console is night and day. And it's just simply like
When
that.
you say power, do you mean like the actual
The
speed?
visuals, the graphics, the speed,
Yeah.
and things like that.
Everything. Okay.
Yeah.
Got it. All right. And Steven, how about you? If you could rip apart a console and put them all together, would you, or would you take another route altogether?
I think, do you know what? There's only one thing that console has that PC doesn't, and it's the price. If I could take
True.
the price of a console and
That's
put it into a PC and be able to play the same kind of titles for the same cost, I would do it in a heartbeat. But the reality is, if you're talking about $270 for a PlayStation 4, you can play any games that will ever come out when you buy that. With a PC, if I want to play some of those titles, I need a computer that's going to cost like $1,000 or more.
Wow.
So it's a very different playing field. But if I could take the price and put it onto a PC, that's what I take.
Got it. There were two interesting things that happened in the gaming world this past week. So first, GameStop has appointed a new CEO, which is interesting to me because they just got a new CEO last May. So do you guys know anything about this new CEO? Do you think he's going to make a difference?
I do not know the new CEO, and I don't think it's going to make a difference. It's just showing to me there's too much turnover going on at the highest level. There's the ship at GameStop needs to be sorted, and it's definitely not going in the right direction right now. Obviously, with these people losing their jobs. So no, I'm not confident in this new CEO coming on board.
Can you go on GameStop.com and buy video games?
Yeah.
Like, do they
of
have a
course.
website for that? Okay,
They
got
still
it.
have e-commerce.
Got
Yeah.
it. Okay. Now, Stephen, over to you. Google announced this week that they have released sort of their own gaming console, but it's actually not a console, it's console-less, and it's just a controller. Talk to us about what is it called and what are your first impressions?
So it's a controller, handmade, called the Stadia, and it's a streaming platform that just happens to connect to a controller. So what you do is you hook up your controller using Bluetooth or any kind of wireless signal, and you basically just play. It's not the first time this has ever been done. Another company did try a long time ago. I think they're called One Live, but they did not succeed because, to be frank, the market just wasn't ready. Now Google's coming in about 2 years later, actually more than that, my goodness, about 5 years later, and they've got this great new system. It looks fantastic. I think it's probably going to be the future for console gaming. Is why go out your way to purchase this big machine when you can go and purchase just the controller and then purchase the games through an online store? It just makes sense. And also it's less bulky. You don't have to have this
Sure.
big thing underneath your TV kind of taking up space, gathering dust.
Totally. I have a question. So, when we think about it, I think that this is really great. I'm excited. And this actually might be, I have to tell you, Adriana brought over her Nintendo Switch yesterday so I could try to play Fortnite on it. It was terrible. I didn't like it. But this whole little Google thing, it might be the first thing that I actually invest in for gaming because I just want to be cool like you guys. But without making it so shiny and new and exciting, Stephen, what are the complications that we could run into with this kind of an environment? Like, is there a greater chance for lag? Is there less of a chance for lag? What about security and making sure that people can't get your IP address and all that kind of crazy stuff? Are there any complications that you can foresee with this?
So the obvious complications when you're working with any kind of wireless system is that it's easy for someone to remotely hack you. So let's say you're playing a game and it's competitive and someone wants you to not do well. It would not be hard for those who know how to hack you and to take control of your controller and stopping you doing what you want to do. The other big issue I can see is that although internet speeds are on the rise, I don't think they're there for some of the top games yet. I don't think streaming works for games currently unless you have above average internet connection.
Okay, good point. Ian, what do you foresee as potential
Now,
issues?
those are all great points by Stephen. But yeah, the main thing is just the connectivity issue. I feel that they're going to go through some severe issues with that in the beginning. And it's just realistic that they can get over that. I just think the connectivity that Stephen was mentioned before, the internet, most people's internet these days, like you need fiber optics, you need like that top-notch internet to be able to do this kind of stuff. And I feel like people get too excited and they don't realize like, oh crap, shit, we don't have that kind of internet.
Yeah.
So it's
Have they announced any sort of celebrity endorsements with this, or have they just come out and said, hello, here, we have this?
I only saw it briefly. I think it was a CEO who came out and he just teased it for a little bit, and they teased the one game that's coming out. And that was about it. They didn't give too much information.
It'll be interesting to see who they tie to this from a PR standpoint. And this is me getting nerdy because both of you work in marketing. I'm interested to see what celebrities or athletes, if any, kind of jump on board and start to push this. And if these are people that actually know what they're talking about, or they're just going after sort of the glitz, the glamour, the big public figures. I guess what I'm trying to say is it'll be interesting to me to see if Google, from a marketing and PR standpoint, decides to sort of sink their claws into the gaming community and get famous gamers to endorse this, or if they're going to go after celebrities. And that'll sort of, honestly, it'll kind of tell me how well it's actually working and what it's actually worth and how well it's functioning and what kind of longevity it has. I mean, it has Google behind it, so we know it's not necessarily going to go away anytime soon. But, we also have that Google phone that came out, and I don't think it's doing that well. I know 2 people that have it, one of which actually works for Google. So it's kind of a nepotism and loyalty thing. But anyways, all right. Well, you guys, thank you so much for walking us through this. I really appreciate the full rundown. I appreciate the Price is Right with all of this. And I'm really excited for you guys to push yourselves, sort of out of the nest with my loving kick, and premiere your own show on Thursday, April 11th. Now, we've mentioned Steve a couple times, but I think we need to make it very clear we're actually not always referring to UK Steven. There is going to be another fourth and final host of Game Over that will be joining us. His name is Steve. He's friends with Ian and Kirk, and you guys will be able to get to know him, I think, next week. Next week, right?
Next week.
Is that right, E?
Yep, next
Excellent.
week. And we'll figure out the whole Steve and Steve thing.
Excellent. Well, yes, we will figure it out. But essentially, for the listeners out there, what we're really trying to do with Game Over by pushing them out of the nest and getting 4 hosts is we want them to have a dynamic that's very similar to the one that we have here at Dixon Politics, where people can sort of come in and out, schedules permitting, and of course, weekly topic, depending on what it's falling on. So right now we're heavy with Aurora because of what's happening with Brexit. And we hope that you will enjoy hanging out with the guys on Thursdays. But I love you, and I'm not going to give you a completely. The boys will still pop in and out of Dixon Politics to give us a little update, a little bit of a teaser on what they'll be talking about when their episodes air every single Thursday. So, all right, you guys, it's the OG crew. Are you ready to do the sign out?
I'm never ready, but let's go.
This is very true. So thank you so much, everyone, for listening to episode 19 of Dixon Politics. My name is Samantha.
My name is Ian.
My name's Steven.
And you have just listened to
Game Over.
On
Whatever You Say Productions.
No, it's on Dixon Politics.
That was
We are signed by Whatever You Say Productions. It doesn't matter. I love you guys. Thank you, everyone, for joining us, and we'll see you next Wednesday.
Thank you for listening to Dix and Politics. Digestible and unfiltered content about men, money, and moments. New episodes every Wednesday. Don't forget to subscribe.